Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. We're going to get started in just a few minutes here, but I know a lot of people have already hopped on, so wanted to pop in and say hi and welcome. And as you're joining us today, feel free to drop us a message in the chat. Just let us know where you're located, maybe the name of your business or the industry that you're in. We're really excited today to be talking about the groups feature and hearing about the different types of teams, events, tournaments, camps, clinics, and other things that you're using this feature for. And so we'd really love to hear from you again, where you're located, the industry you're in, so that we can tailor this to your needs. And in particular, I'll make a personal request here. It is so cold here outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I would love to hear, if you are located somewhere warm, please give me a shout out. Let me imagine that I'm there with you, because that would just be wonderful right now. So I hope all of you are staying warm and healthy wherever you are. We're really excited to talk to everyone today and to give you some great tips for your business. So like I said, feel free to chat into us and we'll get started in just a few minutes here. See a few more people joining. If you're just hopping on here, welcome. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to join us for the webinar. And feel free to drop a message in the chat with where you're located and either your business name or the industry that you're in, so we can try to tailor our conversation to your needs a bit more.
Miranda, I see that we have someone from Texas and it's 70. It is currently 18 degrees in New York, so I'm very envious of that.
Oh yes, thank you for messaging that. That sounds lovely. Just gonna imagine myself there. I'm gonna pull my blanket around me and just imagine.
Oh man.
We're not alone though. There's definitely a lot of others that are cold. Yeah. We don't like to be in Texas with 70-degree weather.
Yes.
Oh my
I
goodness.
See.
The 30 degrees below?
Yeah.
That is something.
Yeah.
Is it snowing at least? I think I was saying that before. If it's going to be cold, it might as well snow.
Might as well snow, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe just an inch or two, so it's not like a nuisance, but it looks really nice.
Yes.
So.
Or at least, I mean, I don't know if anyone out there skis, snowboards, does another winter sport, anything like that. But I feel like at least if you can do something fun with the cold, then it's a little more bearable.
Yeah, I think -30, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm staying indoors.
Yeah, find a book.
Yeah.
I have to point out too, I see that someone messaged in that they run a nonprofit makerspace, which is so fascinating. I would love to, when we get into the conversation and the presentation here, would love to hear about how you're using groups. Because I don't know if I've met another client in that industry and would love to hear about it.
Wow, 35 degrees in North Carolina too, so it's all over the East Coast.
Yeah.
You think North Carolina to escape to a little bit of warmth? I guess not.
Not today.
Not today.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for messaging in and letting us know where you're located, the industries that you're in. We love hearing all about it. Sorry everyone that it's so cold in a lot of where you're located, but we're all in this together. It is, we've been having such a fun time reading your messages that I've just realized it's now time to start the webinar. So we'll go ahead and kick things off here. We've got a fair number of people still joining us, but I've got a few housekeeping items to take us through. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us for this webinar. Today, we are going to be talking about the groups feature within Easy Facilities software and all of the ways that you can use it for teams, tournaments, leagues, camps, clinics, all different types of group-based events. So we're really looking forward and excited to share some best practices, as well as highlight some changes and new features that are going to be released as of tomorrow morning in the new Easy Facility Experience. We're going to give you all the details on that as well. Another exciting thing for today, we are going to be doing a new format for today's webinar. So while we do have a title slide up on the screen right now, we're not actually going to be doing a traditional presentation with a slide deck. We wanted to keep this really focused on your needs, and so we're going to be doing instead an open forum discussion, more like a panel style. So how this will work is basically I've got a series of questions that I'm going to be asking our two panelists who you see here with me, and they will take us through some introductory information about the group's features, how you can use it, different examples, some unique ways that we've seen Easy Facility clients use this tool, as well as talking through maybe some advanced features that you can try to use to promote your groups a bit more. And then finally, we'll go through in depth the new features that are coming tomorrow and how to get access to them. So if it's possible for you to stay for the entire presentation, want to make sure you get a sneak peek at those new features coming tomorrow, like I said, as well as learn how to get access if you haven't already. All right, so like I mentioned, we've got our two panelists here today. We have Greg Barra, who is our Manager of Support and Training. Greg, thanks for being with us. And today, really excited to have Greg share his expertise in the day-to-day usage of the groups feature, and a lot of great examples of how to not only unique ways to use groups, but also just best practices to help you streamline and simplify and make sure that this stays really easy to use for you. And then we also have Mike Vidal. He's our Director of R&D. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us as well. And he will be really able to give us some insight into the development path for groups, kind of where it started, the new features that are coming tomorrow, as well as some future enhancements that we have planned, and really in depth as to how groups was developed and how is best to use it as well. So super excited for all of this. And one final thing with the new format that we have, we do want to keep this very open forum style. So if you have questions or comments or feedback throughout the discussion, feel free to chat those in. I'll be watching the chat, all of us will really, and we'll try to work in anything we can into this discussion to, again, really tailor it to your needs. That said, we will have a Q&A at the end, so if you have more detailed questions, we'll do our best to address as many of those as possible after we've run through our list of topics here. One final thing, well, a couple final things before we kick off. This session is being recorded, so you will get a recording via email within a couple of hours after the webinar is completed. And I do want to note too that today we are going to be focused on groups within the new Easy Facility Experience. And most of you probably know that we launched a new user interface last year in 2021. And that's a brand new experience that you can opt into within our platform. If you haven't done that already, we'll let you know how to get access so that you can go in and check that out. If you're already in the new user experience, what we're going to show today will look familiar to you, but just wanted to note that so that you know that the screens that we'll be showing, the examples, the tutorials that we're going to share will be within that platform. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and kick off the presentation. And as I mentioned, before we dive into any new features or advanced features or things like that, we're going to start off with a quick intro and a little bit of a history on groups within Easy Facilities platform. So Mike, this first question is for you. So let's start with just what is groups and why was it developed in the first place?
Awesome. Thanks for the intro, Miranda, and great question. I'm going to start with what is groups? Groups is a feature that provides a way to create and manage, well, groups of people. which could be teams in a baseball league, or it could be a group for a hockey skills clinic, or maybe a youth summer camp, and much more. And we'll cover, I think, a lot of other examples as we go throughout the webinar today. One of the main tools I wanted to highlight around the groups feature is the registration tool, and that tool itself allows for those clients and players for teams and the kids for the summer camps and their parents to register them for within those groups. So and to highlight that these groups can function on their own with a unique registration URL, or they can be published to the self-service portal where your clients can find those groups and register online, and whether they register for one or multiple groups, as well as even adding multiple participants. Additionally, those groups can be published to our Easy Leagues product, which we'll talk a little bit more about as well in today's webinar. The other question on why it was developed in the first place is also a really good question. And when you think about Easy Facility, when it first was created, it was primarily around scheduling, specifically handling rentals for fields and courts. But I think after that initial launch, we quickly realized that managing teams and tournaments and camps and clinics are an important part of the business model. And those facilities needed a system to manage these groups, right? So with a way to collect registrations and payments online. So Groups was created to accommodate that need. And it's one of the original features of Easy Facility, and I'm super excited to share some of the changes we've made along its journey.
That's awesome. And I do know that Groups is one of the most popular features as well. So it makes sense that it was an early one too, in addition to that. So awesome. Thank you, Mike, for just kind of laying the groundwork there for us. And so I think that's a great jumping off point to talk about some of the ways that Groups is used specifically. So Greg, do you want to shed some light on that?
Yeah, definitely. Before we do that, I would love to get some feedback from the audience about how you use Groups. That would be tremendous. We'd love to see specific examples. If you have anything that maybe you're using Groups uniquely for, definitely write it in the chat, as we're always looking for some new and unique ways here. But in the most part, as you can see, we're showing the new Groups page here. But Groups is really used in large part for leagues, and you can manage different types of leagues, such as indoor soccer leagues, basketball leagues, college intramurals, rec teams, and then within those types of leagues, you can have specific examples. So you can create a league for a specific age group, where maybe you have a 30+ indoor soccer league, as you can kind of see at the top of this page here. And then you can also create maybe a youth soccer league and provide some more details and provide those specific links to your clients. Tournaments, we have several accounts that are using Groups to create basketball tournaments, again, indoor soccer tournaments, and things of that sort. Different camps, so summer camps can be created where users can have the option of different options of maybe a full summer camp, or maybe you're breaking down the summer camp into the first 4 weeks of camp, the last 4 weeks of camp, or anywhere in between, where you're going to give your registrant the option of choosing one of those particular sets of time. Again, whether that be the full summer, or first 4 weeks, the last 4 weeks, or anywhere in between. One-time fitness boot camps. Maybe you're offering a session with a guest trainer that you want to have for a special one time only. Using Groups would allow for clients to register for that event without the need of a package. So you can really promote that and make sure that they're getting the opportunity to be a part of that special one-time fitness boot camp. Sports clinics, we've seen. If you're running a baseball facility, maybe you'll have a pitching clinic, or maybe you'll have a hitting clinic. Again, maybe you're bringing in someone, whose specialty is hitting or pitching, where you're allowing that for a one-time only kind of sign up there. And then talking about within the Groups, we have the ability to add different types of fees and options. So if we're going to be talking about, let's say, the indoor soccer league, you have the option of creating a fee for a new team, where they'll be able to add a new team as the captain. So I can be responsible for signing up through Easy Facility, and then with that sign up, I would be able to invite the players of my team who would be able to then be a part of this league, and then we can divvy out how much each one of those players is responsible for paying. You have the ability to also create a team and allow people to sign up for the league and join that team through the registration. So with a team fee, you'd be able to see all the teams that are currently registered for that particular league, and then you'd be able to join that team. Or, maybe you just really love indoor soccer. You don't necessarily have a team, and you just want to join that league and play with whatever team needs your talents. So you could be a free agent there, and then you would just join the league in general, be a free agent, and at the end of the registration process, you can be moved into a particular team that needs, your skill set, or just needs an extra person to help them out. So those are some of the common ways that we really see groups used on a daily basis there.
Excellent. And we did get a lot of responses in the chat, a lot of great examples of how you guys are using groups. So that's fantastic. Thank you for all of that. I know there are a couple of questions mixed in here, so it might be good to just address a couple of them. I know someone asked about non-members being able to sign up for groups, and that is something we can accommodate, right? So
yeah, so you don't have to be a member in order to sign up for a group. This group can be published for any person to join that particular group.
Yeah, which is really nice, and I think even if you are groups or teams or these events can be a great way to introduce someone to your business as well. So I feel like that's a really, from a marketing standpoint, I love that idea of they might try out an event first and then decide that they want to go ahead and get more involved and then buy other packages or become a full-time member. So I think that's a great way to use groups in conjunction with the other things you're doing in your business too. I know.
Yeah,
I see.
and just to kind of piggyback off of that, if you already have an account within the facility and you want to sign up for one of their leagues, you can still enter in your information for that particular league, and it's not going to duplicate your account or anything. It will merge that information so that everything falls within your one account if you were to be a member.
Excellent. Just to highlight some of the other examples I'm seeing here, I'm seeing things like birthday parties, definitely tryouts, tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us up to some of the unique ways that we were going to discuss, is really that sort of barrier between just accepting someone into a particular group or maybe a membership, where you can have a application like process where you're just gathering their information and gathering their interests really, and seeing if they would like to be a part of your organization or your group or whatever you may be trying to have that application for. So for example, we have community centers and things that do use this for an application where they can gather that information, maybe contact them with an additional set of questions before they allow them to actually be members. And if that's the case, there is manual work that is needed to allow them to become members, as once they go through that process, you would have to manually go through and add them as members. But if it's something where you really want that kind of barrier, it would work well for that.
Yeah, and some of the other unique things that I've seen over time is I've seen it used for esports, for video game tournaments, which I thought was really cool.
Nice.
Madden and FIFA are my personal favorites. I don't know about anyone else out there, but I thought that was an interesting and unique way to kind of use groups for more of this virtual video gaming world. Yeah. I also saw one of the responses in there was a barbecue cook-off, which sounds like something I want to be a part of.
Yeah, where's my sign up? Send me that group invite. I got a mean chili recipe.
Yes, I thought that sounded pretty cool as well. And you can't forget about, the annual cornhole tournament,
That's
which
right.
we call it the Fall Classic internally.
Yes.
And yes, we did use our groups and Easy Leagues product to manage that internally, by the way. And it was a great success.
That's awesome. Yeah, there are a ton of great examples here. I hope everyone is reading through this because I'm not sure we have time to highlight every one of them, but there are just some spectacular ones, and I hope that you're all getting ideas from each other at this point, because there's so much that you can do with this tool to bring in new clients, to bring in extra revenue. So really great if you can use it to the fullest like that. I do see another question here about nested groups, and I think what they're referring to is subgroups.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be helpful too to just touch on as we talk about the different ways that you can use groups for things like different types of, their example was different levels of basketball tournaments, advanced, beginner.
Yeah, definitely. So you have the ability to, I think the most important thing to know is that there's really 2 levels that you can go down. So when we're talking about this, we're using the 30 plus indoor soccer league. So you would have the ability to see this 30 plus indoor soccer league, and then you would have subgroups or related groups, which we'll see at the bottom here, where you would be able to then choose to join a team, if you will, or an option here. And if it was something where we're talking about just general individuals signing up for, they would be able to go down and see a particular related group and sign up for that. So for example, if you're trying to sign up for a team here, you would have the 2 options of the St. Catharines Fighting Owls and AFC Richmond for any of our Ted Lasso fans out there. It does have those types of levels where you'd be able to do that. You can continue to go down up to 8 subgroups, but you're only going to be able to utilize the 2 levels down. So if you're on the 6th level, you can use 7 and 8, if you will, or 7 and 8.
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so you can do those multi-levels, such as even divisions, right? Send Division A, Division B, creating those
that
teams.
All related to one parent group, but in terms of registration itself, it goes down 2 levels.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I think that's a great overview of some of the various ways that we can be using groups. And as I mentioned, I'd love to spend a ton more time going through every example, but we do have a good bit to cover on today's session, so want to keep moving a little bit here. And in particular, the next question I think is a crucial one for everyone who is already using groups, and that's talking about some of the ways that we can promote groups. So the specific tools that we offer for that, and how you would recommend going about that.
Yeah, definitely. So while we're in this group right now, you're going to see that we have an online registration option. So the online registration option is going to allow you to create a specific link for this 30 plus indoor soccer league, which you can put on your website, or you can email that link out to whomever you would like to have access to that. And it really allows them to choose this one particular league and sign up for it. So that's one way that you'd be able to promote that individually. The other way is using our self-service portal. So you'll see that we have the publish to self-service. So if you publish this information to self-service, when they're there, maybe signing up for a class or buying a membership or whatever they may be doing on self-service, they'd also be able to see these groups that you're offering. So you would be able to see all different types of groups within the self-service page. So that's going to be a way for, maybe they came for the 30 plus indoor soccer league, but then they see you have a summer volleyball league and they're like, hey, I kind of like volleyball. So maybe they want to join that one as well. So that allows for them to see all of the leagues that you do offer and all the groups that you offer. And there's ways to filter that down on the self-service page. So if they don't want to see your full list and they really are just keen on playing some indoor soccer, they can filter that out and see what you do offer. And then the last piece that I think is really, really useful is our Easy Leagues platform, which allows for expanded and advanced use of the groups feature. So for that, I think I'm going to kick it over to Mike, who's going to.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier in the webinar when highlighting groups as a whole, and Easy Leagues is a really great feature and offers a lot of different tools. I think of Easy Leagues the same way as I do Easy Facility. It's just kind of all in one platform to help you manage those leagues and tournaments, and even publishing, adding your camps on the Easy League side of things. So what that does allow you to do is when you publish those leagues to Easy Leagues, you're publishing those subgroups as well. So those teams and even the players that have registered into those teams, so that those registration URLs get published over. And we also have a public website feature that allows you to display your upcoming leagues, and it is searchable as well, and can be found through Google results if they're looking up your facility, for example, right? So again, gaining more exposure on your upcoming events or programs for those leagues and tournaments that you may be offering for open registrations. Additionally, one of our biggest features of Easy Leagues is our automated scheduler. So this allows you to take those teams that have been published and go through a series of steps to auto-generate a schedule for that league. A very powerful feature, and does accommodate a lot of your scheduling needs from the league perspective side of things. And again, just a huge tool and different offerings in there. Classified ads for potentially having teams who are looking for players and announcements and things like that. So it is a really great feature to publish your groups over to it.
Yeah, so I personally have experience with Easy Leagues just from an outside perspective. Before I even worked at Easy Facility, I was a part of a soccer league, and it was great to be able to see the standings, although we were never really towards the top, but we still saw them, and be able to see what our seeding was, and then be able to see some of the tournaments and where we should be on that particular field or in that facility. So truly is helpful in that respect.
And that's
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I was going to say, and that's a good point. I also wanted to mention the standings and stats, right? There are several pages within Easy Leagues that we do provide iframe links for. So you can take those and just easily embed them into your website. So you can have this information just kind of seamlessly integrated into your website as well to view those directly from your site, and your clients never actually have to leave your website for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I do want to add with that is if you're interested in learning more about Easy Leagues, we do have several articles about Easy Leagues on our support site, support.easyfacility.com, or you can reach out to our support team who would be able to help you with any questions that you have. We can set up trainings. It is a powerful tool that everyone could be using if you're using it for leagues and tournaments and things like that. But I know something else that's really cool that you're going to touch on, Mike, is the API, and really.
Yep. Yeah, I was about to say, for those that are looking for something a little bit more technical and to be able to have a little bit more control, I think our API will help you with being able to expose your group data seamlessly on your website, right? You get a little bit more control. So an API is going to allow you to access this information, but again, you have control over your design, right? So you can take your group's information and dynamically display that on your website, and that will include those online registration URLs. Also worth noting is those online registration pages can be iframed into your website. So you can provide an end-to-end experience for your clients and without them ever having to leave your website. So again, a little bit more technical with the API, but does bring a lot of value because of the control that you have over how you want to design, how you want to allow for filtering and searching for those groups. Again, keeping them all within your website. So if you are interested in learning more about the API, you can contact support, or you can send an email to API@support@easyfacility.com. Sorry, again, that was API@easyfacility.com if you're interested in learning more about it.
Yeah, this is great to hear. And, as someone in marketing, I love this question and everything that you're mentioning. Love the flexibility of being able to tailor it to your site, to your brand. And I think these are some of the advanced features that if you are a heavy user of the groups tool already, these are some of the things you might want to consider looking into and thinking about how can we level this up. You know, there's so much that goes into the organization of these events and managing them that at the end of the day, you really want to make sure that you're promoting them in the best way possible to get that return that you want to see on them, and to give the best experience to your clients as well. You know, having that good communication and the good branding, I think, just adds to the whole experience too.
Right.
I know there was a good question here. Oh, sorry, Craig.
No,
Go
I was
ahead.
again just gonna stress how helpful it is to see those standings if you are running some sort of league, just as you be able to see statistics and things like that. So that really takes your league to and tournament to a whole new level.
Yeah, absolutely. And creates that type of loyalty that you're looking
Right.
for. You know, people get so excited about that, seeing where they're standing exactly.
Yeah.
Even if
Even if it's
like,
on the bottom half, you got to work your way up. You know.
Right.
yes, it's better when it's earned, right?
Yeah.
I know there was a good question here about QR codes, and I did want to address that. So I know that there are tools out there where you can create a QR code from literally any URL. So once you have the URL for your registration, you can actually go plug that into one of these tools and get a QR code generated for you. So absolutely, that's something you can do. We can follow up with information on that.
Yeah. And again, for those, again, on the more technical side or looking to pursue that more technical route, the advantage of the API is being able to do that dynamically using other tools. So you can just kind of pull those registration URLs, generate those QR codes automatically and displaying those on your website or sending them out in emails, et cetera.
Yeah, fantastic. Cool. All right, well, let's get into now maybe some other best practices. So we've just kind of covered the promotion side of it. What are some other things, maybe even some mistakes that you might see with groups,
Yeah.
and how to avoid those and keep the process simple?
Definitely. I see this often. It really groups should be used for a one-time registration for a soccer league. You're really not going to be signing up every week for that soccer league. You sign up once and you're there for the entirety of the league. So groups, that's a great example of when you would want to use a group for a league or a tournament. Things that you're going to be there for the full duration always. Where you're not going to want to use groups are going to be for things like a kickboxing class that happens every Thursday at 8 p.m. in your fitness center. That is something that you want to definitely use the schedule for. Put that on the schedule, have it recurring, have someone buy a package, and then they can pick and choose which Thursday they want to do some kickboxing. So that's not something that you want to put in groups. However, if you're doing a one-time, kickboxing extravaganza that has a, some sort of professional kickboxer that's gonna be there, you may want to use groups for that, just so that no one has to use a package. They can just pop in, they can register, and now they're going to be there. So that's something that you want to definitely keep in mind when you are thinking about using groups. Groups you can have, you may want to create a template that you'd be able to copy some subgroups or groups so that you don't have to do that every single time, which if you're doing the same sort of indoor leagues or same summer camps each year, that could be something that helps you save some time year over year.
Huge time.
What's that?
Huge time saver. Copying.
Huge time saver.
Yeah.
The online description page is your opportunity to put whatever information you feel that your registrants are going to need. If we're talking about camp, what should the campers expect each week? You're signing up for the first 4 weeks of camp. Maybe there's a theme each week. So you want to be able to show them that. What should they bring, especially for a summer camp situation? They should bring sunscreen. They should bring other, a drawstring bag, things, or a swimsuit because they're going to be using the slide. If it's a league, when and where does the league take place? What time, etc. So that online description is your opportunity to really show or provide more information to your registrants. something that comes up often, and it is a big feature request that we are going to consider for the future, is that Groups does not connect with the schedule right now, but it is something that we do know is a big feature request, and it's something that we're discussing internally for future improvement.
And you can to expand on that a little bit on around some of the best practices or some of the workarounds I've seen for that is, clients will go onto their calendar and block off a venue if it will be used for the group program or event that's taking place using the unavailable or program special type, reservation type. Just ensure that no other bookings take place and that it is being blocked off for the use of that group. Again, a small little workaround there, best practice I've seen for that.
Yeah, an extra step, but I mean, maybe a helpful step just to ensure that you're not double booking potentially. There's no prerequisites for groups at the moment. So while we have some age groups that we're mentioning here, it is more on the honor system at the moment. There's nothing that's going to stop someone from registering for a program that doesn't necessarily fit their age group or skill level for that matter. So just something to keep in mind there. Just when they do register, you may have to review their registration before the season or camp starts. So those are some of the things that that come up quite often from the support perspective that is definitely great to keep in mind when you're creating your groups.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. And, I love all of the tips for processes and ways to streamline. I love a good process, saves you so much time. So particularly things like templating and just making sure that, you're setting up your camp the same way every time so that it's successful. I do see a lot of questions coming in about the new features that are coming. So I think, we've done a good overview of groups so far, how to set them up, the examples, how to promote them. So I think at this point, it would be great to turn our attention to the new features. And first, Mike, can you take us through what's going to be in this release tomorrow?
Yeah, sure. Just first wanted to kind of go back to what you mentioned earlier in the webinar in 2021, releasing the new Easy Facility Experience and kind of what our goals with that were. And so as a part of that, we wanted to make sure we were updating the user interface with more of a modern design, also making it more intuitive with less clicks and making it easier to train your staff, kind of this, by providing this more consistent look and feel throughout the software. So those were some of the major goals around, introducing the new Easy Facility Experience. Additionally, we did make a lot of updates to the back end, specifically around our architecture, which helped improve speed, performance, and reliability. So since the launch of the new Easy Facility Experience, we have been working on additional enhancements to a lot of our popular features, such as groups. So again, making a lot of changes to some of those major or popular features. And with groups specifically, we had similar goals with this feature, right? So we wanted to be able to introduce easier workflows and make fewer clicks to complete actions. And so some of those features that I want to highlight, while they may be some of the same functionality and some of that may remain the same, we wanted to introduce better user experiences around some of these features and functionality that the groups feature does offer today. Right, so talking about the ability to search and filter groups, right? We wanted to ensure that we improve the performance around that. Searching groups is essentially filtering this grid that you're seeing on this page today, making it faster and loading your results. Same with filtering those groups. And kind of going back to best practices, and I know we're probably going to kind of show an example of creating a group, but it's important that you fill out this information when you're creating those groups, such as your sessions or age divisions in sports, right? It will go a long way when you need to search or filter for the groups that you're looking for. So again, I would note that as a best practice, making sure you're filling in a lot of this information. Oftentimes when I work with clients, I notice this information is blank and I try to highlight, filling that in and just making it easier to find those groups. A couple of other things that we did is you also notice here that we've kind of reduced the number of columns or the data that's being displayed by default on the table. And a major reason for that, and a lot of feedback that we received on when viewing these, especially on smaller screens, is the horizontal scroll. right? Not realizing you could either scroll to the left or scroll to the right, especially when you need to navigate to your email icon there, or editing a group, or viewing additional information of the hidden missing columns there, which is also something to point out. Is the green info icon, while the columns have been reduced, you still have access to that hidden data. So at any given time, you can simply just mouse over, see the information that's not displayed, or you can just add the column to the grid if you choose to do that, and you still have that full control of hiding and showing the columns that are available to you here in this dropdown. Another big change that we made was the tree view for the groups hierarchy. So when we talk about subgroups and having multiple levels, Greg kind of highlighted this a little bit earlier today in the related group. So we replaced that tree view with the related groups grid. And what's important to point out here is that you have access to all of the groups here. Doesn't matter what level of group you've navigated to. So if you did have a multi-level structure for your group setup, if you clicked into your third level, you still have access to the top level and your parent level. Whereas before, you did have to navigate out of that group in order to get back to your parent or that main level. So again, it was important to note that, as well as the additional information we're including in the columns. So that was also another update we wanted to make. And you have that same functionality here as well, of showing and hiding columns and still being able to see that information by mousing over the info icon. So this was another improvement. Again, removing it from the side of the page allowed us to increase and take advantage of more real estate. Again, reducing the need to scroll horizontally, especially on smaller screens. And just as a reminder, you can collapse that main side navigation as well if you want to gain even more real estate on the page. So up to you. And the other change that we made as well, again, speaking of that side menu, the navigation to get to those other pages, such as the online registration, published Easy Leagues, is we turned it into a tab structure. Again, removing the spacing issue on the side of the page here, and also consistency throughout the rest of the application of creating this new tab structure. So really the last thing I do want to point out is the actions for your group, such as being able to copy the group, like Greg mentioned, is in this global actions dropdown. So being able to export the details of the group, copy, generate your reports, and even deleting or disabling that group from that global actions dropdown there. And then I kind of touched on it a little bit, but just consistency, just wanted to make sure I threw that out there again, and how important it is, for us to, as we introduce improvements or enhancements to all of these features, is making sure we're following the same consistent patterns, that grids are acting the same, that when you're beginning a new action, such as creating a group or registering a member or selling a membership, you get that same look and feel of that side panel. I know we're going to touch on that a little bit more. So.
I wanted to just point that out from a training perspective. You touched on this in the beginning of the call. Going to each page is going to function almost identically to any other page. So if you're going to the memberships page, it's going to look and function very similar to what you're seeing in the groups page here. So you should expect the same thing every time in most cases, which really should increase or decrease, I should say, the training time when you're first using it, just from a logical workflow perspective. It just makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, we are well aware of the inconsistencies we had in our classic product, right? And so taking that feedback and making sure we accommodate that consistency here was important to us.
Mike, is there anything that we should expect within the next few?
Sure. Yeah, a couple of things that I do want to point out, just based on some of the feedback that we've received. So when you are viewing the group details at the top of the page, making it easier navigation. So again, if you do drill down 3 or 4 levels deep into your subgroups, you do have the ability, not only from your related groups, but at the top of the page. So we want to make just kind of better navigation as you start navigating in and out of your groups. Some of the other feedback that we heard was being able to begin your actions from its respective grid, right? So if you're viewing your group members, grid simply being able to register members by clicking the button from within that grid, right? Same with related groups if you want to create a new subgroup. So as you see, as of now, these are at the top of the page. So we want to make that a little bit easier to begin the process by making it available in more places throughout the areas here. Another big thing that we had heard some feedback in is as you saw, to gain access to that group, we're clicking this pencil icon and we're kind of immediately going into this edit mode, right? So we've heard a lot of feedback of being able to just have a quick details view, right? Without having to go into an edit mode. So being able to potentially slide out a side panel that says, here's some details about this group. If you would like to go into the next step of editing, you can. So that's some feedback that we've heard and potentially a feature that we will be working on in the near future. And then we do get a lot of feedback around registrations and working on being able to customize forms more on a per group level as well.
Great. Well, thanks. I think that gives us a great overview. And I know we've been stepping through a lot of that, seeing that on the screen as you've been talking through it. But maybe, I would love to see this a little bit more in action. So maybe we could try setting up a group and getting someone registered.
Definitely, we can do that.
Sorry, I was going to say, I just also wanted to point out all of the features that I noted that we have improved and you're seeing today will be available tomorrow. Just reminding of that release at 8 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. This should be updated in your system.
Right. It's gonna, when you go to groups, it's going to look like this, not what you would expect when you go back and work on groups later today.
Right.
So some of the things that I wanted to point out here, again, consistency being a huge part of this. The grid looks very similar to the other grids, and it just allows you to be familiar, like once you get onto that page. One of the things that I know that we've heard once we rolled out the new UI and introduced groups in the new UI was the absence of searching or filtering for completed groups. So those completed groups are now available. You'll see them in this light blue color here. So these are the completed groups now, which you will be able to search. And if you use the filtering tools here, which are hidden by default, you would click on this button here in order to see the filters, and you can apply them. When we go into the view here, you'll be able to filter by all completed or see additional filters, as Mike was pointing out earlier. So we will go ahead and click on that to hide that, but we'll go ahead and we'll add a new group. So the new group button here is going to be in the upper right. Again, consistency, all new actions really start in that upper right-hand corner, whether you're selling a membership or you're creating a new group, it's going to be right over here. So when we click on the new group, we'll see that this side panel pops out, and then you would be able to start entering this information. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start creating a 3-on-3 basketball tournament or basketball league.
Greg, something else that I wanted to point out here is that it may not necessarily be group specific, but the revenue category at the top of the page is, to me, I think very important, that gets overlooked a lot of times. And this does help a lot when generating your revenue reports, right? Being able to categorize where your revenue is going, knowing how much revenue you're generating from your camp versus your leagues versus your tournaments or even your membership. So I would highly encourage that feature get used as well, regardless of what feature it is, in tagging your setup with revenue categories.
Yeah, doubling down on everything that Mike just said. It'll be a lot easier to find information if you use those revenue categories. So again, we have that description. We'll have a session here, which will say what's part of winter 2022. Sport, we have a basketball. And with all of these, you'll see that you can add a new filter, but we'll go choose basketball. Age division. If you have a specific division that you want to choose, you can do so. Or if I want to add one where I have 3v3, I'd be able to do that here. And now I add that division of 3v3. Each subgroup is, and this is how your naming convention would work. So by default, if you don't put anything here, it's going to be team, but you'd be able to change that to class or session or camp or what have you. That would make the most sense there. So because this is a basketball tournament, I'm just going to leave this blank. And we have the contact person, contact email, so that they can reach, your registrants can reach out if they want to. We have our price. So I'll say this is $150 to join this 3v3 league. We then have max individuals and max subgroups. So this is going to allow you to set how many people can join or how many teams can join this league. So if you only want 10 teams to join your 3v3 league, then you would be able to update that max subgroup to 10. Or if you only want 50 people to join and then you're going to add them to specific teams, you would change that individual to 50. If this is left to 0, that means it's unlimited. So you'd be able to see that information here. And if you have some additional questions, there's a help bubble here, which will show you that 0 equals unlimited. So a nice little help
Also,
there.
Pointing out that as of right now, the bold fields mean required fields. We do plan to improve that a little bit, potentially adding asterisks or something just to indicate it being a required field.
Definitely. And then we have the ability to allow the wait lists or use the default. So if we want to continue on here, we'll go ahead and we will click on save and continue. So once we do that, we'll be able to see that we have this information that we are now able to update in this group details section. So I'll see all this information here, which we can change if needed. No group members yet, and no related groups, as we just created the group here. So what you will be able to do is go to the online registration portion, and then this is where you'd be able to set up some additional fees. So at this point, you would have the fees section here, and if I click on add, this is going to again bring out that side panel, consistent workflow again, where you'll be able to choose that fee type, whether that be with an individual, with a team, or a new team. So I'm going to choose individual, and you'll see here that we have a description. So we had talked about adding free agents before, so we'll go ahead and do that here. So we have a free agent fee, the amount to bill, we'll say 150. A deposit, if you want to require that they pay something when they initially sign up, you'd be able to do that. And you'd also be able to set a payment schedule and then choose your auto pay options as well. Next to each one of these fields, you'll see again, we have the help icon. If you just hover over that, it's going to give you some additional details here. So at this point, we'd be able to save and close, and that's going to create one of our fees. So you can create multiple fees for one group. So if I go to the right here, you'll see that we have this plus button. If I click on the plus button here, we have the fee type where you're going to be able to choose a new type of fee. So if you wanted to choose with a team where someone's going to be able to join a team that's already been created, you'd be able to do that. Or a new team, they're creating a brand new team within this 3v3 basketball league. So you have the ability to do that. So as we continue to scroll down, you'll see some additional payment information. So we will continue down here where we have the online description. This is what I was referring to before, where you'll be able to add additional information. What should they expect with this league? You know, it's a 3-on-3 tournament that happens every Thursday. So I will just 3v3. Whoop, that's the number sign. That's not right. We'll say on Thursday nights. All right, at 8 p.m. So we have that available now. And then you'll see this registration link. So this is the link that you'd be able to use. So I'll go ahead and just save that real quick. This is what you would be able to use to email out to your clients or members or post this on your website. And then when I click on preview, you'll see this available here where they'll be able to actually sign up here. So not the best color, but matches what we're talking about in basketball league. So it brings out the basketball here. But you can change that. You do have preferences to change that color, although maybe you just love that burnt orange. But you'd be able to fill out this information here, and then that would allow you to sign up.
And Greg, quick
Yeah.
question from someone in the chat here. Can you set up free events through this?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
registration fee of zero?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So those applications and such, a lot of them would be free because they are, they would be able to sign up for those applications.
Yeah,
And then
you just
lastly, yeah,
$0 fee.
yeah. You would have to still add a fee that was $0. And then internally, you have the ability to register a member. So if they're not able to use that link, or they're not able to access self-service for whatever reason, you have this option to click register member here. So this is where you'd be able to choose a member to register. So we'll go ahead and choose basketball great Ted Williams, and we will go ahead and register him as a free agent. And then you'd be able to choose the fee, if maybe he gets a discount, choose the revenue category, if any taxes apply or additional description. You would select next, where you'd be able to review the details. Again, this is a consistent workflow across many of the pages within the new UI. And again, I can't stress consistency enough here, where you'd be able to review that information, edit the details, then select next. And it's at this point that you'd be able to have him make a payment if needed. So we're just going to choose pay later and cash for now. And then once we do that, if we go back to the group, you'll see Ted Williams here. And then once additional teams and subgroups get created, they would appear here, and you'd be able to move that registrant into a team when the time comes. So
Perfect.
that's a brief overview of how how you can use groups. But as we mentioned, there's many different ways that you can potentially use this feature.
And just a reminder, and I know we're not highlighting them on today's webinar, but a lot of those default preferences you see on the online registration can be configured in the admin settings, and then can be overridden or customized on the group level itself. So keeping that in mind, you do have that control of setting up different preferences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're getting a bunch of great questions now, so just want to give a final reminder before we start our Q&A that so the new features we've talked about, the new filters, excuse me, the new filters, the new grid view for related groups, the other elements of the new user interface that Mike and Greg have touched on, those will be released automatically to anyone in the new Easy Facility experience tomorrow at 8 a.m. So expect that those changes will appear automatically in your account if you're already using the newer platform. If you have not opted into that already, then if you'd like to get access, you want to try that out. Keep in mind you can switch back and forth between the new experience and classic if you are just getting up to speed on it. But if you want to opt into that, either reach out to your account manager or email us at support@easyfacility.com or submit a support ticket through the website as well. So those are the ways that you can get access if you don't already. And again, for those of you who are already in it, you'll see those changes automatically tomorrow morning. All right, I do want to try and get to a few of these questions. We are a little short on time, but we'll see if we're able to go over a little bit here, just because there are so many great questions being asked.
Miranda, also before we wrap up, do you mind just opening up to the audience about how they felt about today's?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to put a poll up on the screen just briefly here. One moment. We would love to hear just how you felt about today's format. So this poll should appear on your full screen in just a moment here. And if you'll just go ahead and fill this out quickly for us while we look through the questions we've been getting and try and get those into order quickly here. Again, just trying to make this the best format for all of you and trying to respond to your needs as best we can. So just let us know your preference there, and we'll take that into consideration for the next one that we do. And I'm going to leave that on screen for just a few minutes. But one question here that might, I think is just maybe a good use case for people to think about. So there's someone who messaged in here who says that they're hosting swim lessons and wondering how subgroups could benefit them if they're running several groups of, beginner 1 classes. So currently sounds like they're creating 5 different groups at different times on different days, different fees, but sounds like they're actually all similar, beginner level classes. So can you maybe just explain a little bit more the best practices for subgroups?
Yeah, I think it really does depend on their specific offerings in that case, because with that subgroup, as we mentioned, you'd have the ability to choose the second level. And when it comes down to different fees, I think that's where things may get a little bit tricky, where they may have to split it up just a little bit more into separate groups so that they are able to make sure that the fees that they are requiring for each of those are collected properly. Mike, do you have any other suggestions about
Yeah,
that?
definitely a fair point. I mean, using the example of the swim, right? It sounds like they're relatively the same level, but different offerings. So if you do combine them under one parent group, I think it goes back to what Greg mentioned about the way you structure your fees. And so using that example with a team, that could, in place of the word team, it could be with a lesson, and you
Right.
can offer those different levels, whether it be level 2, level 3, et cetera. But making sure you do have the right fees in place, just to ensure they are choosing. And again, there's no prerequisites or validation when it comes to that, as Greg mentioned. So they can select any one of those fees regardless of level. So it's not going to confirm the correct level. So in some cases, creating them as separate groups will still be beneficial for you than combining them under one parent and multiple subgroups.
Right. Sometimes combining them may cause more headaches than
Right.
than needed. And you can use those online registration links to make sure that you are pointing the swimmers to the correct lesson type.
Yeah. And I would see where you're relatively hovering around the same fees for things. Maybe there's multiple sessions or dates for a camp, for example,
Right.
and so you offer those as subgroups, and they pick one to register into. Is a good case of setting up outside of like a league team structure.
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now. So if anyone wants to get a last minute vote in, give you a couple more seconds here as I ask the next question, then I'll go ahead and close the poll. So another question that came in here, can you add someone to a group from their client profile? So, if a staff member is managing a new client who just got added to the system, for instance, can you just immediately add them to a group?
Not directly from the groups tab within their profile, so you will need to navigate to the groups page itself. However, this is definitely feedback that we've heard and have put into consideration. So it's something that we are closely looking at, and we'll be probably reaching out to others to get some additional use cases and feedback around it.
Right. You'd be able to see what groups that they're a part of here, but not necessarily register them. So when you're on the register page, you'd be able to do that. Or when you're on the groups page, you'd be able to select that register member option.
Got it. I know we got a question earlier. I was just trying to locate it again. I know that someone asked a question about the recent environment with respect to COVID. And we know that there are currently some locations, some Easy Facility clients who are dealing with restrictions right now and so forth. Unfortunately, it's an ongoing thing for all of us. So just wanted to address what are some of the tools that we have to help people through these situations.
Yeah, definitely. We have a Zoom integration that's not connected to groups per se, but it is available when you're creating and using the schedule and creating sessions on the schedule. You'd be able to add individual Zoom links onto those particular sessions. And once that Zoom link is added, if a client has registered for that session, they'd be able to launch the Zoom link directly from self-service. They would also get an email that provides them with that Zoom link that they can launch. And when they use that, it's also going to update their attendance, which is great. So it's going to mark them as attended and decrease the number of sessions that they have in their package. So it would just be like them walking into your facility, scanning their key card, and attending that class. So you obviously would need to have a Zoom account and connect that to your Easy Facility account. Again, for more information, you can go to support.easyfacility.com, as we have articles that go over the Zoom account, but it allows you to continue to have your clients' favorite classes and keep that sense of normalcy as they're able to do their favorite classes from home.
Excellent. Thank you. I just felt it was important to address that topic given the current situation. Another question that's come up a couple of times here with regard to groups is about customizing the questions that you're asking during registration. So can we talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, so there aren't many questions that can be customized throughout creating different groups. So you do have the ability to create specific groups for specific things, but there's not going to be a specific application for one group or another. I think something that we can tease a little bit here is that we are in the process of creating a more advanced registration process, which would help for those organizations that do need this assistance. So that is something that we are in the process of working towards and hopefully releasing sometime in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's important to remember too that Groups is a tool that was developed for certain use cases and works excellent for those use cases. But we do understand that there are a variety of online registration needs that you might have, and so we are working on some other things for those more unique use cases that may have gotten brought up and that will offer a little more customization. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. Let's see. I know there was a question about adding people to a specific subgroup. So in your example, Greg, I think you showed, adding a registrant to the parent group.
Yep.
I don't know if you have one set up where we could quickly see what it's like to move someone into a subgroup, just to review that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we take a look at the group here, we have Eli Manning, who is part of this indoor plus 30 soccer league. So what you would want to do here is select the option, and then you would have the ability to move the member. Now, we are using a QA environment, so it's not production right now. So the moving of the members isn't necessarily functional at this very moment, but it will be once it's released into production. But this is where you'd be able to choose the move members, and then you'd be able to choose the particular related group there, and then be able to move them.
Excellent. Okay, great. People are also asking about being able to customize columns. So things like where the first name is shown, finding out if the columns, once you edit them, if they stay as presets, if you navigate away from the page. So things like that, like just customizing those columns in general.
Yeah,
just explain
I think that's an improvement that we are working towards. So right now it will be just for the session that you are working in, but that is feedback that we have heard, and we're going to try to. I don't want to speak for Mike.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you kind of touched on it there, but yeah, once you do leave the page, it will reset back to the default columns. However, I did want to note that the changes we will be making to saving these preferences, so when you do add additional columns or hide columns, being able to save those preferences will apply across the entire product of grids. So whether it be you've customized your membership grid or your client profile grids or your groups grids here, that functionality and feature when it is rolled out will be applied, again, following that consistency pattern with the updates we're making.
Excellent. Okay, great. Another question here, I believe this was related to the settings for your online registration form. I know that's not exactly within the scope of this webinar, but wondering if you could just quickly point people to where that's located.
In the administration, oh, Greg, go for it.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Mike. I'll walk you through.
There is an administration page. I know the navigation may be a little different for some of our classic users, but there's an online registration option there, as you see in the side menu under that administration parent, and here you would see those preferences. Again, a lot of this information, or majority of it, can be customized on the group level. So when you do set the default payment options, for example, the background color, this information can be modified here. A couple of other things to point out that we didn't really note when we were setting up those fees, especially for leagues and teams, is being able to allow your coach to add their own roster of players, as well as even assigning a portion of the balance to those players, so each individual player can pay off their own balance for maybe the team total, for example. So something we didn't highlight, but this is where you can make those changes.
Perfect. We'll take maybe one or two more questions here. I know we're over on time. I think you touched on this one, Greg. So is there a way to customize, oh, maybe not, customize your waiver for groups, for sports?
Customize your waiver. I don't believe. So here, Greg, if you pause the page right where you're at, there's a registration agreement section. So there's a documents feature that we offer that allows you to create different types of waivers, agreements, liability waivers, things of that nature, right? So you can create a template and you can select that template here. Just to keep in mind that this does not get customized on a per group level. It does apply to all groups, but you do have the ability to customize and create your waivers or agreements and add them to this preference here, which would apply to those registration pages.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll make this the last question now, just so we can wrap up and let everyone go here. Thanks for sticking on with us, everyone. So we had also a couple of people ask about waitlist. So wanted to make sure we touched on that, since I don't think we really covered that too much. Kind of just how does it work and how do you manage waitlists?
Mike, do you mind taking this one?
Yeah, sure. So I guess first thing we can point out is there is that default setting there, waitlist. Yeah, you don't have to navigate back if you don't want, but again, setting that default. But as when Greg was highlighting, when creating the group, you can set your max number of individuals, right? So that's the number that the system is going to use before it starts adding individuals to that waitlist. And so if you do set this number just for convenience, we'll say 10 individuals, that 11th person that gets registered gets added to the wait list. Once they've been added to the wait list, they'll be highlighted in the members grid, right? And from here, you have the option to then mark them as an active participant in the group by simply selecting, and you'll have your options of enrolled or wait list. So also pointing out that you can manually do this. So if you did want to move somebody to the wait list, take them off of the wait list, you would manage that by simply selecting one or more clients and completing the action by clicking that box. Here we can see that this has been italicized to indicate that this person has been waitlisted.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you both for all of the information, and a huge thank you to everyone who attended today, all of your comments, your questions, for sharing the ways that you use groups. Really excited to see so many people tuning in and giving their feedback as well. I know there are several questions and pieces of feedback we weren't able to get to, and we are over on time here. So we are going to have to let everyone get back to their day. but we will go through the questions and comments and do our best to respond to people over the next several days here. So if there is something we missed, weren't able to get to today, feel free to send us a message either at info@easyfacility.com or go to the support site and submit a ticket if you need some assistance from us.
Brenda, I could also add, at the bottom of the page in the new experience, there's a give feedback link. And so feedback is extremely important to us. We love hearing from our users and how we can improve. So absolutely click that link and submit your feedback for any feedback that you have. We want to hear it all. So just wanted to point that out to submit your feedback.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as Mike has mentioned already, we are working on improvements, particularly to the new Easy Facility experience, you know, diligently, and we'll have many future releases and enhancements coming up. So your feedback is a huge part of that, obviously. Do want to just give a final reminder before we sign off here. These new features that we've shown you today will be released automatically within the new Easy Facility experience at 8 a.m. tomorrow, January 12th. That's Eastern time, 8 a.m. If you do not already have access, just shoot an email to support@easyfacility.com and we can get you set up with that. All right, thank you again, everyone, for participating today, and have a great rest of your day.
Have a great day.
Great day.